Welcome to NorthRock Church. For those that do not know who this guy is, my name is Jonathan Moore. I'm the lead pastor here at NorthRock, and you've made our day because you came to worship with us on this lovely Easter Sunday morning. And we are excited about Jesus today, and we're excited about celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ today. And we're happy, if you can't tell already. We are starting a new series today called Happy, and over the next 5 weeks, we're going to be looking at the idea of being happy. And believe it or not, the Bible has a lot to say about happiness, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, we are going to have difficulty in our lives, and we're going to have times where we're, a little down in the dumps and not quite as happy as other times. But at the end of the day, I believe with all of my heart that God intends for us to live in a contented and peaceful and happy condition. You ever know anybody that is happy all the time? That person maybe at work that even whenever there's rumors of massive layoffs, they don't seem to be bothered by it at all. They're just happy. It's okay, man. It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. If I lose this job, I'll get another job. That person that never seems to be bothered by, traffic. Like you're sitting there biting your fingernails because of traffic, and they're just sitting there listening to the radio and enjoying. What about happy people in the mornings? Any of you happy in the mornings? You're happy in the morning? I can't see who you are because of the light's in my eyes, but I don't like you. I don't. Some of my least favorite people in the world are people who are happy in the mornings, because mornings are for a lot of things. They're for a lot of things, but they are not for being happy. They're for reflecting. They could be for reading. They could be for thinking. They are not for talking. They're not for being happy. My mornings go something like this. I have a picture on the screen. Maybe you've seen this, but this is how my mornings go. And this is a big mug, too. It's a big one. And you can't talk until we get to the bottom there. Okay, now we can have some conversation. Happy people. You got to love happy people at the end of the day, because the flip side of that is people who are never happy. And people who can't seem to have a smile on their face no matter what's going on in their world. And I think we would all, if we were choosing who to hang out with and who to hang around with, we'd rather be with that person who is happy all the time. And so we're going to talk about happiness. We're going to look at a book in the Bible called Philippians. And it's basically a letter that the great apostle Paul wrote to the church in Philippi. And it's the happiest book in the Bible. The word joy or happy or enjoy is some form of that word, shows up like 17 times in that little short book. And it just has a lot to say about happiness. And just to give you a little brief nugget or two, happiness is not something you look for. Happiness is not something you stumble upon one day and then once you find it, you're happy. But happiness is a choice, and it's really not too difficult of a choice. Happiness doesn't need to be a goal in your life, because if happiness is a goal in your life, you're going to wind up living a miserable life. You'll actually guarantee to be miserable if you're always searching for happiness. So we're going to have a great time looking at this series. Today, as you know, it's Easter Sunday. And that makes me happy. And we're going to talk about some good choices over the next 5 weeks to find happiness in your life. But I'm going to challenge you and encourage you at the close of this sermon today to make a decision that will start you on your road to finding true, legitimate, long-lasting happiness. Happiness. It's Easter Sunday, and Easter is a special day for Christians all over the world. It's not the celebration of Jesus, for those who are wondering. It's not the celebration of his teachings. It's not even the celebration of his miracles. But Easter is a celebration of a very, very, very specific event. A very specific event. And this event is what makes Christianity different than other religions all over the world. Because Christianity is not based on or built around the teachings of a particular person. Certainly we use the teachings of Jesus as well as his followers and his apostles as a portion of our foundation. But listen, Christianity began and took its shape because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. After Jesus was crucified and buried, on the third day, he got up from the grave and he walked out. And that is what Easter is all about. Had it not been for the resurrection of Jesus, there would be no Christianity. I don't think we would know the teachings of Jesus like we know them. We would not be familiar with the miracles of Jesus had there not been a resurrection. In fact, the only plausible reason why early Christianity began and took the shape that it did is that the tomb really was empty and that people, lots of people, really did meet Jesus alive after his death. We have 4 accounts that talk about the resurrection in the New Testament. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the first 4 books of the New Testament of the Bible. They're biographies, if you will, of the life of Christ. They tell the story of Jesus. And each one of them talk about the resurrection, and they have all sorts of incredible details. The stories are not written like they're fairy tales. The stories aren't written like they are folklore. And the men who wrote about the resurrection and the men who preached about the resurrection were men of passion and men of faith. And when they preached about it, they got in trouble. When they preached about it, they were arrested. They were beaten. And at least 10 of the 12 original disciples were martyred because they preached about Jesus and they preached the message of the resurrection. There was great personal cost and very little personal gain. And it makes me think that because they were willing to move forward and preach about it anyway, there was something to this story. These apostles, these followers of Jesus had experienced something that moved them beyond the pain, beyond the beatings, beyond the prison. They had seen the empty tomb. They had been in the presence of Jesus alive after they had seen him die. They knew he was the Messiah, and they were going to tell everyone they met. And today, Easter Sunday 2014, I want to convince you not to see this life-transforming story as an old fairy tale. It's just kind of a myth that just kind of hangs out there. But I want you to pull this story of the resurrection off of the dusty doctrinal basement shelf and respond to the life-giving hope that it offers every single one of us. Jesus is alive, and that holds incredible significance for everybody in this room. Every individual in this room. And I want to begin here today. We're going to look at some from John's account of the resurrection as well as some from Luke's account of the resurrection. And I want to start in the Gospel of John, John chapter 20. And John wrote... this is the end of his book. John wrote, his gospel is a little more unique and even more personal than the other 3 gospels about Jesus. And it's a great gospel. Love to read the Gospel of John. Toward the end, he tells a story of the crucifixion. And then John 20:1, he picks up the story. And this is after Jesus has been crucified, after he has been buried. And this is on Sunday morning, that first Easter morning. We'll pick up the story. John 20 and verse 1. It says, early on the first day of the week, was Sunday, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. Mary went to the tomb, and other accounts show that there were other ladies likely with her. She wasn't alone, but Mary Magdalene was one of Jesus' most famous female followers, and like many of you here today, she believed in Jesus. She believed that he was a miracle worker. She believed that he was an amazing teacher. She believed that he he was a revolutionary and an extraordinary communicator. In fact, he had introduced a brand of compassion that was unknown to the Roman world and had been lost in many ways in Jewish culture. He was the most amazing person she had ever met. She believed that he was sent from God. But on this first Easter Sunday morning, when she got to the tomb, she believed that Jesus was dead. and that Jesus was going to stay dead. Jesus had been put in the tomb on the day he died, and a couple of men, one named Joseph of Arimathea, one named Nicodemus, both who were basically secret followers of Jesus because they were part of the Jewish religious leadership, and it was not popular to be a follower of Jesus if you were part of the Jewish leadership. And so they had taken the body of Jesus. They had to do a little bartering to get the body of Jesus, because typically when someone was crucified, they weren't buried in a tomb, they were thrown in a dump. But Joseph of Arimathea did not want that to happen to Jesus, and he was well connected and he had money. And when you're well connected and you have money, you can accomplish some things that others cannot in life. And so he goes to Pilate and he begs for the body of Jesus. He may have bribed Pilate, I don't know. But he got the body of Jesus, and he and Nicodemus quickly prepared the body before Sabbath came, before it got dark on that Friday night, and they put him in the tomb. Put him in the tomb. Now, Mary Magdalene, again, Sunday morning, shows up at the tomb. Why did Mary go to the tomb? Why did these ladies approach the tomb? And his body, again, has been there for parts of 3 days and 2 nights. And I want to back up just a little bit to the Gospel of Luke, and then I'm going to let you ladies just kind of draw your own conclusions as to why the ladies went to the tomb on that Sunday morning. Luke chapter 23, verse 55, Luke's account. The women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph of Arimathea, when they took the body. They followed Joseph and saw the tomb and how, everybody say how his body was laid in it. So I have to assume that the women saw Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, how they took the body of Jesus, quickly prepared him for burial, and put him inside the tomb. And as they stood there and watched, they said, that ain't right. That ain't how you do it. That ain't good enough. That ain't gonna get done. My wife, beautiful wife, lovely wife, and a great housekeeper. I am not a great housekeeper, and so she has this particular way that she makes up the beds. And so I don't often try to help her make up beds, but when I do, I want to do my own thing. I just, take the sheet, tuck it up under the mat. I don't really care how it's tucked up under. I just want the sheets tucked. I mean, you like your sheets tucked. I mean, I like the sheet. I don't want my foot all hanging out, and then I want the sheets tucked. Well, I just cram it up under there. I just cram that. Well, she doesn't do it that way. She has a very specific way that she pulls the sheets and she folds it, and then she lifts the mattress, and there's some other folding thing that happens. Then there's a tuck. Then you put the mattress down, then you drape it. It's something like that. I don't even know what it is. It's confusing me just trying to talk through it. I don't understand how it works. The bottom line is I don't do it right. And typically I'll do my little corner, and then she'll work her way around the bed and she'll fix what I had apparently, messed up. That's what these ladies were doing. That's what I think they were probably doing. The body didn't get prepared well. And so Luke says they were going to help better prepare the body for burial. And they brought their spices and they brought all the other things with them that you typically did to help prepare a body for burial. Mary loved Jesus so much. She had been so moved by this man that she was willing to go into a tomb, unwrap his body, bringing with her what she needed, and properly prepare him for burial. I asked Alicia yesterday afternoon, sweetheart, if I were buried, if something tragic happened to me, and you weren't sure they prepared my body correctly for burial, would you, after everyone left, exhume my body and better prepare me for burial? And she gave this strange little look like, are you really asking me that? And I had to believe that she was thinking, we just kind of leave it however it was. But Mary wanted to get it right. She loved Jesus so much. She believed he had been sent from God, but on this first Easter morning, she believed he was dead and that he was going to stay dead. If you're in this room today and you struggle with believing, you struggle with believing in Jesus, you struggle with just faith in general, you certainly struggle with believing a resurrection, I want you to know you're in good company. Because the people who are the closest to Jesus also did not believe or expect there to be a resurrection. Wouldn't it have been a great story if the followers of Jesus had expected a resurrection? It would have made for great television if the story would have been written in such a way that the disciples and these ladies knew there was going to be a resurrection. And so on Saturday night, they gathered up their food and they had a little block party out there by the tomb. And about sunrise, as the sun was just about to start to peek over the horizon, they started a countdown. 10, all together, 9, 8, 7, and the stone begins to shake and begins to 6, 5, and suddenly there's a crack and there's a strobe light coming out of the tomb. Because everybody knows that if you've ever seen any Easter drama, you can't have a resurrection without a strobe light being inside the tomb. Strobe light and smoke. 3, 2, 1, and out comes Jesus, and the disciples and the followers are all there gathered around him, but that's not how the story reads. Not at all. Nobody expected a resurrection. His followers, the disciples, were terrified for their life. I'll show you that here in just a moment. So let's pick up the story again. On that first day of the week, Luke 24:1. At early dawn, they went to the tomb, the ladies did, taking the spices that they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of Jesus. Verse 4 says, while they were wondering about this, they're thinking, are we at the right place? I could have sworn this was the tomb. What is going on here? They weren't thinking, oh, did he resurrect? Did he resurrect? Did he resurrect? No. They were wondering why there was no body. Suddenly, 2 men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, verse 5 says, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground, and the men said to them, why do you look for the living among the dead? Well, because we thought he was dead. That's why we're here, to help prepare his body to stay dead. And the angel said this one sentence with 3 words at the end that just changes everything for all of us. He is not here, but he is risen. That's why we're here today. That's why we're celebrating today. That's why his love has impacted and changed my life the way that it has. That's why he has impacted and set people free all over this room, because he conquered death. He conquered hell. He conquered the grave. The ladies were like, what? He's not here. So they ran to tell the disciples and the followers of Jesus what they had seen. And they find the disciples, again, they're locked away hiding because they're all afraid for their own lives now, afraid that the same thing is going to happen to them that happened to Jesus. So they find the apostles and they go into them and they tell them what was happening. And the apostles, these are great guys. Jesus handpicked them to help save the world. And you would think that they would have been on board, okay? No, they weren't there doing the countdown, but at least when the ladies showed up and said, he's alive, I tell you, he's alive, you would think they'd have been like, praise the Lord, he did what he said he was going to do, but that's not what they did. They said this in verse 11 of Luke chapter 24, they did not believe the women because their words seemed to them like nonsense. You know why their words seem like nonsense? Because they were not expecting a resurrection. Because people don't come back from the dead. They weren't expecting it. So if you ever had trouble believing in Jesus and believing in the resurrection today, you're in good company. You're in good company. Skip back to John's account. Just after this incident, whenever the angel appeared to the ladies and the ladies came and told the disciples, a few of the disciples actually ran to see the tomb themselves, and they, of course, saw that the tomb was empty. And then they went back into hiding. And again, because the apostles were like, what are we going to do? They're trying to regroup. When can we go public again? We're afraid that they're going to crucify us or kill us as well, stone us. They're going to take our lives. And so we pick up the story on that night, Easter night, that first Easter night, the evening of the first day, John 20 and verse 19. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together with doors locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." The disciples were together. They had the doors latched and locked because of fear. Because of fear. Any of you ride roller coasters in the room? Any roller coaster riders? Yeah, maybe you're young, or maybe you're just young at heart. I don't know. I still like to ride a roller coaster from time to time. I have a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and they like to ride them too. And back in my day, I'm 41. I'm an old man. No offense to people that are older than me. I feel like an old man. But I got back problems and all kind of issues, but I still get on those rides. Back in my day, you would sit down in a roller coaster, and there would be one bar. You would put it down, clack, it would click into place. You'd put a little seatbelt on, and you up the hill, and then just woo-hoo, arms up. Rides, simple little rides. Well, they're a lot more complicated than that nowadays. And they got rides where your feet are all hanging, and you got to be careful. Flip-flops will fall off. I mean, you got stuff and it's just a whole lot different. And now, when you get on those rides, they have these things that come over the top, and they latch into place. And when that bar latches into place on me, I have a little bit of paranoia. I'm a little bit claustrophobic, I think. And so when that bar locks into place, I have trouble getting a breath. And I always try to keep it to where I can take a breath nice and easy. And then those crazy Six Flags workers, they come by and they just want to lock it into place. One more click. Okay, now I can't breathe. I could breathe, now I can't breathe. But I have to consciously stop. Take deep breaths, count to 10, so that I can breathe appropriately. And I think there may be some people that have come to NorthRock today. You might not have been to church in a long time. It might have been, years since you even darkened the door of a church, or maybe you've never been in a church like this, a church that sang happy on the stage. But you've come today and you're kind of like the apostles, the disciples, who were locked behind doors because they were afraid. Maybe there's something just going on in your life. Maybe there's some type of anger issue that's got you locked up. Maybe there's some type of bitterness. Maybe something happened to you when you were a child, and it's still got you locked up, bound up. Maybe it's loneliness. Maybe you're struggling to find light at the end of the tunnel, struggling to understand and believe that I have hope. Maybe there's some type of sin in your life, some type of addiction, and you feel dirty here this morning. You feel alone here this morning. You just feel like you're locked up, and it's even caused you maybe in the last few weeks to ask, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? I'm paralyzed by this issue in my life. First of all, I want to tell you that it's okay not to be okay. Because Jesus loves to come to us when we are not okay. Some people have this crazy idea that they need to get everything together before they go find Jesus. It's just the opposite. We find Jesus, He finds us, we let Him in, we embrace His love, we embrace His grace, and then He helps us begin to get some things straight in our lives. It's okay not to be okay. One of the things that we've said at NorthRock for years is this is a perfect place for imperfect people. And I say it all the time, but I want to continue saying it. You may be here this morning and you feel like you're the worst person in this room. You think your sins are like a 10 and everybody else is like a 1 and a 2. I promise you, you're not the worst person in this room. There are people in this room who've done bad things. Look around. Okay, don't look around. Don't do that. There's people in this room. You're not the worst person in this. It's okay not to be the very followers of Jesus were terrified. They did not expect a resurrection. They did not believe, even though he had told them. They didn't believe. They didn't believe in a resurrection, and they were locked behind walls and doors of fear. And what did Jesus do? He passed through the locked doors, just walked right through those walls. Man, he's good at that. And he spoke peace to them. Peace to them. And we build walls of doubt. We build walls of fear and anger and sin. And for many of you today, Jesus is showing up. And he's speaking peace over your life. Listen to him. What happened after that? When Jesus walked through their walls of fear and he spoke peace, verse 20 says, and after he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. And for the first time, the disciples genuinely realized and understood, wow, there has been a resurrection. And they were overjoyed when they saw I love that word, they were overjoyed. They went from fear to happiness. They went from anxiety about their future to hope for our future. Just because Jesus stepped into the room that they were in and he spoke peace to them. Spoke peace. They went from doubting to believing, from fear to joy. Kind of like when you ride that roller coaster. And you're a little paranoid, you're a little freaked out as it's pulling out of that first little station. Have trouble breathing because I can't take a deep breath. And you start up that first hill. Cluck, 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 cluck. And the ground is getting further and further and further and further away. And you feel like you could just tumble right out of there, but that little worker who came by and pushed that thing in one more click is not going to let you fall out of there. And you get over that first hill and you start flying and you go from being paralyzed by fear to this and then when it stops and pulls back in the station, you're like, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. Not just like that, but kind of like that is what the apostles were dealing with. Terrified for their life, Jesus shows up, speaks peace. They believe the resurrection. They see his hands. And they go from fear to being overjoyed. Listen, I don't know why you came to church today. You might have been tricked into coming to church this morning. Somebody said we're going to have, Easter brunch. And you're like, okay, I'm all up for food. And you pull in this parking lot and you're like, what? This is a church. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have brunch after church. Or maybe you were just in the wrong lane as you were coming down the access road and the cones blocked your way and the policeman. And you're just like, oh, okay, I'll pull in here. I don't know why you're here. Maybe you heard there were some pretty girls. Maybe you heard there were some eligible bachelors that attend NorthRock. I don't know why you're here. I really don't care why you are here. For whatever reason that you have joined us this morning, but something in the singing, something in the preaching, something in the story of the resurrection has caused you to realize, again, something you already knew about yourself. I need help. I need help. I'm dealing with some anger. I'm dealing with some loneliness, and I don't know what to do. And in a lot of ways, it's got me paralyzed. I feel like my life is in a holding pattern. I'm struggling with happiness. I don't know where to turn. I just know that I cannot fix myself. And you've realized and you've discovered that you need help to deal with your life. You're paralyzed by issues. I want you to know this morning that Jesus has this amazing ability to pass through your walls of pain, your doors that you have locked because of anger, you've locked because of loneliness, or you've locked because of depression. He's got this amazing ability, just like he did with his disciples, to pass through those walls and speak peace to you. Speak peace to you. You're looking for happiness. You're looking for answers. You're looking for hope. Your journey begins right here by allowing Jesus to step beyond the walls that you've built in your life, to love you, forgive you, and speak peace to you. Speak peace to you. I've heard it said many times, if there's 1,000 steps between you and God, He will take 999 of those steps. It's up to you to just take one step and tell Him, I need you, Jesus. I need you. What are you wrestling with today? What are you struggling with this morning? Jesus wants to speak peace into your life. Would you close your eyes today? Now, Lord Jesus, I pray a prayer of faith for everybody in this room. I pray strength and encouragement for every individual in this room. People who are wrestling with loneliness, people who are wrestling with anxiety. God, we need to respond to the empty tomb, respond to the resurrection by allowing you to step through those walls, to penetrate the walls of our heart and allow peace to reign in our life. People in this room that have not felt real joy in a long time, God, I pray today that they would make the decision to allow you to bring hope and peace and joy to their life. As I continue to pray here this morning, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever given yourself to Jesus? Every individual, answer this question for yourself. Have you ever let Him in, really let Him in, behind your walls of doubt, behind your walls of fear, and given yourself to Jesus? Romans chapter 10 and verse 9 says this, if you declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved. I'm going to invite you where you are seated right now to believe in Jesus and to receive Him and to allow Him to step through that wall of anger, through that wall of addiction, and speak peace to your life and bring joy where there is currently sadness. I'm going to pray a simple little prayer here, and I invite everybody in this room to just pray this prayer along with me. Jesus, I confess that you are God. I believe in you. Save me from my sins. I believe you died on a cross and rose again. Make me new. Make me new. In Jesus'